Waiting for some peeps to join in. Hi, everybody. Hi, Paolo. Hi, Emmy. Let's a few more people join in. We're going to talk about the core today and how the core is linked to injuries. It's pretty exciting. I think so. I'm moving, by the way, so my movers might show up in the middle of this, which is, you know, typical. Still, we have my little muscle guy here. And first, I just want you to understand what the core is. So, you know, I hear this all the time, like, oh, my abs are my core. You know, your abs are part of your core, but your core is basically your trunk. So this here, all the way down to here. So this is your base. If this is not firing correctly, which includes your pelvic floor muscles, your diaphragm, it includes all the muscles that go all the way around the body. So they should be firing together so you have this like can. So think about, I heard this before and it stuck with me forever. Think about like a pop can, so, or a Coke can if you're from the north. So you sit there and if it's closed, you can step on it and it can support your weight. But if it's not closed, you can smush it. And that's basically how the core is. So if your core is not firing correctly, then everything you do and all the forces you transmit with your upper body and lower body are inefficient. So if you think about the power movements and doing things with your arms, well, if this is broken, then they're inefficient. They're basically fending for themselves because they aren't supported by the basic core, which is not a good thing. So let's see, I'm gonna show you guys some stuff. Let me get this video I wanna show you. I'm all about the visuals, you know what I'm saying? And it's good, you should learn through doing and through seeing. I'm a loser, this is what I do on my iPad. This is all I use my iPad for. Oh, software update. We don't need to do that right now. Okay, so this is part of your core. This is the upper body, or the upper trunk. So you can see it's actually moving. So this is breathing. And you see how basically the muscles here and your neck, so when you sprint, your neck is supposed to help support it, but when you lose your core, the neck becomes the main breathing muscle. And that's why we're all like, oh, my neck is so tight. Well, it's because your core sucks. Sorry, but seriously. So if you get your core on point, where watch, if I lift this way, woo, so that's the diaphragm. That's a muscle that spans the entire width of your rib cage, underneath and up in. And that helps draw your ribs inward. So it literally takes your ribs and squeezes them this way. So I used to look at girls and be like, why is she so skinny? I'm like, I am not that way. I wasn't always in shape. But I was like, there's gotta be a reason. So of course I went and researched it. Well, your diaphragm helps you squeeze your ribs in, and that gets you to neutral. So if you're operating out here and all your movements are out here, that means that you're just grinding on your joints and you're not efficient through your spine. So anything you do with your arms and your legs are basically setting you up for injury. And there is research that supports that. So especially with athletes that deal with a lot of forces and high impact movements, if your core is not stable, then you're just waiting for an injury. So I used to work in NASCAR, and my boss hired me so that I could prevent injuries. So, you know, our athletes, we didn't have backups. It's the longest season in pro sports. I had to have them ready by the weekend. So if they were hurt, that is not good. So I made sure, and I did preventative exercises with them beforehand so that they didn't get hurt. So why not do that with everything? We all know how gravity pulls us down. We all know how our postures ruin us, how our phone makes us do this. So why not go against that? Why not learn about how you move and then change the way you move, or at least do the opposite so that your joints and your muscles aren't constantly flexed one way versus the other? Because before you know it, you'll start to age, and then you've, had this pattern and this habit that you've been doing for 30 years. It's kind of gonna be hard to change. You can still do it. I'm telling you, you can. But why wait that long until you get an injury? Why wait till you ingrain that pattern in your head? Change it, learn about how you move, video yourself doing some stuff, video yourself exercising, because you don't realize it. You're like, yeah, I'm so strong, my squat's so good. Look at the video and you're like, what the hell am I doing? Because I do that, I know. So your body thinks it's doing it correctly, but it's not. It literally is just trying to do whatever it can do the easiest way it can. So your body's not, you know, on your side unless you're conscious about how you move. So you want to be able to understand how you move and understand why you're moving and what you're moving so you can move correctly. So let's see. Hi, Pure Heart. Hi, Dave. How are you guys doing? Let's open it up for questions. I know I was talking the entire time. And another thing too, every time we do a live, I'm going to do them about twice a month. So, you know, you can email in if you guys, you know, want to discuss certain topics. And I'm going to answer questions about the last live with the present live. So if, you know, from last week we didn't have that many questions, not a lot of people know what we're doing this yet. So just know that if you have questions on this live and I didn't get to answer your questions while I was talking, go ahead and email in and we'll get those questions answered, because I want to make sure that everyone understands. I direct message some people personally just because I was like, we need, Amy at the shop was like, you gotta answer this question. We need our people to understand, which is good. So let's see. I think I can scroll down, which is cool. So does anyone have an injury and I can tell you a little bit about what's going on and why? Hello from New York. Hello. Thanks for joining. Heart eyes, appreciate it. Hi, Kitty. Saban. All right, thanks for joining, guys. We're just talking about the core. So I'll show you again my little muscle guy. There's also studies that talk about so shoulder injuries and rotator cuff tears and doing a protocol for strengthening the core. And it's not a strength thing, it's more of a coordination thing. Your body needs to understand how to fire muscles correctly, otherwise it just fires the ones that you're already dominant with, which is normally torquing your back or putting your shoulder or limbs in a bad position that could set you up for injury. So there's optimal ways to perform a movement, and when your core is on point, it's easier to do the movement correctly. And there's studies that show it generates more power, more strength. So you're getting more out of what you're doing. So why not do it? And some people ask about, you know, what is a core exercise? What do I do? So you think everything comes down to posture. I always talk about ninja ballerina. Just think about that. That's like lifelong. You'll have it forever. So think about stealth mode. Your movements should be like a ninja, but you should have the posture of a ballerina. So if you're slamming down and you hear those people on the treadmill where they're like, bam, bam, and the whole floor is shaking, what are their knees feeling like? Because that's not good. Like, that means your muscles aren't absorbing that shock. So your body's transmitting those forces into the treadmill, which is making such a loud sound, and then I can't help but stare because I know you're grinding down on your meniscus. So if you're not stealth mode, you're not a ninja. We should all be ninjas. And then ballerina. So if you perform, I love this too, because I work with a lot of CrossFitters, and I'm sorry, you should not load weight on a bad pattern. So if you're sitting there squatting like this, why would you add weight to that? Because you're just sticking yourself in a cervical extension and you're putting a lot of that force from the squat in your neck. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't like working out my neck bones for my workout. So maybe, you know, try something else. Before you do anything, before you add weight, before you progress the reps, look at your posture. Can you stand upright like a ballerina, or are you slopping down like this? Because this is the first cue that shows you, hey, I can't do this load correctly. So you want to do your workout correctly. I mean, especially paying so much a month for a gym membership and putting all that anxiety on yourself because you ate some fries. Sweet potato, though, that means they're okay, right? Just kidding. No, it does. I swear. So here, I'm going to show you, this was breathing in. I want to show you breathing out. So, I know it's a very subtle movement. Don't judge my no hands. But look at how So that's the diaphragm again, under here. All of that in there is your diaphragm, which is part of your core, part of your pop can. Don't judge my fingernails. I'm like a boy. Ooh. Come on, little guy. So if your ribs are flaring, that means that your core is not efficient and you're not firing properly. So hey, let's put 225 on that squat because you can't activate correctly in standing. So core has a lot to do, like a significant amount of relation to injuries. So you don't want to get injured. Why wait to get injured? We can just be smarter with how we move and what we do. That way we don't get hurt. And you get stronger with everything you do. So the more your core is firing correctly, the stronger you get. Hi, Kino. Hi, Brandon. Let's see what everyone's doing. How long should you stretch before you lift? Oh, that has absolutely nothing to do with the topic. But it all depends. We just talked about that last week. Oh, here we go. Maybe I'll answer a last week question. So last week we talked about dynamic and static stretching, especially before your warm-up. You shouldn't stretch for more than 30 to 60 seconds. You shouldn't stretch for more than 15 seconds. Let's put it there. So when you stretch statically, which means just holding it before you work out, your muscles decrease in strength while you work out and decrease in power output. So instead of letting the muscles relax before you work out, try to do that same stretch but go through reps of it. So, you know, say you're doing your arm and you're holding your arm like this, go through reps of it. 20 times, 30 times, that'll get the muscles lubricated, that'll get the joints lubricated, it gets the nerve and the neuromuscular connection firing properly, because if it goes once, it starts going faster and faster and faster. So then when you add load, now you're prepared. Fasted cardio, again, nothing to do with the topic, but fasting is good for losing weight. There's so many other things you can do, and there's so much more. I can't just talk about one aspect of a topic. I have to go into the whole thing, and then we'll be here for days. Is it good to tighten the core when you're doing deadlifts? Yes. So a lot of people do that abdominal bracing where they breathe in, and they're like, and then they go. You could hold your breath, and that helps because it's pushing the air against, so it's stabilizing you a little bit. But if you don't know how to fire your core, if you're not engaging, so with the core, I always talk about these 4 points. So here and then here, the hip bones, like my hot pants, my grandpa pants. So with these two here, they should be closer together without you losing height. So you shouldn't bring them together. You shouldn't be doing like a crunch. You stand up nice and tall, like a ballerina, and then you bring your ribs down without losing height. So you always act like you're pushing someone to the ceiling. So if you push someone to the ceiling, and then you flare your ribs, guess what? Even if you hold your breath in that position when you're doing a squat, all the pressure's still going in your back. So when you load your body, it's one of my tools. I do PT, work on injuries. You need big tools. So if you flare your ribs and then abdominal brace, it's still going in your back. So when you're here, come down like that. So head tall, ribs down. You should be able to do that. If you bring this down and then your head goes like that, which every time it will do that, try to keep this down, breathe in it, and then try to push your head back tall before you start the squat. So if you start the squat and you're in a shitty position, guess what? The bottom of the squat is not gonna be good because now you have momentum and fatigue. What else we got? Thanks, Amy. Email customercare@pinutrition.com. And you can title it or subject line Jena Live. That way, you know, we can organize everything. Everyone's not just doing random questions all day long. Thank you, Amy. Hi from Oklahoma. Hi from North Carolina. And LA later today. Surprised my movers haven't gotten here yet. My whole life is going in a pod. What kind of exercises? Sorry, I have this sideways. What kind of exercise you won't do anymore of the basics for core work? No, I do everything. It just depends on your fitness level. So I love deadlifting. I lift really heavy. I love lifting heavy. But if I've had a week where I haven't worked out and, you know, your body instantly starts shutting off your muscles because, man, you can't take a couple days off without losing it. So if I know I'm not on point with my core activation, then instead of doing heavy deadlifts, I work on like rep and a half. So go all the way down, halfway up, all the way down, full up with lighter weight. So that way you're getting more for your workout than you will be if you put heavy weight. And I know it's like a lot of my athletes are like, I don't want to take weight off. And I was like, if you take weight off, you could be strong like me one day. Seriously though, they do that. They're like, don't tell anyone that we did less weight than you. And I'm like, all you gotta do is get your core on point. The more your core is strong and efficient, the more every movement you do, every movement, whether you're picking up laundry, you're sitting there, I always do this when I'm hanging up clothes. You ever hang up clothes and you're like this? And I'm like, oh my God, look at me. I'm not a ninja at all. So again, here, and then hang up your clothes. So you don't have to dedicate, what exercises, how many reps, this and that. Throughout your day, pay attention to how you move. Pay attention to how much your neck's like, whoa. Because I guarantee, and I always say this, if your posture's where your workout, how many hours a day do you spend in sloppy neck extension and your core shut off? So you could, do whatever exercises, plank with, upper extremity reach and hold it, exercises for your core. But if that's fighting those 15 seconds for like 6 reps, if that's fighting a 7-hour a day like slap posture, then I'm sorry. It doesn't matter how many exercises you do, your slap posture is winning and you cannot be a ninja. So yeah, I don't ever eliminate an exercise. I don't like when I can't do things, so I will make sure I'm efficient enough to do it. Like I could never do a pull-up and now I'm boss at pull-ups because you just work into it. And when you're not good at an exercise, you can either do the eccentric form of it. So, with pull-ups, I used a band at first and I stepped in the band and then I pull up and hold up there for about 5 seconds and then lower down, like a 5 count, 10 count on the way down. Or I'd hold it up there for 10 seconds. But you shouldn't hold with just your arms. You're, again, ballerina. So you should be here when you're up there in the pull-up. If you're up there and you're like this, which I see so many people do, you're causing the issue and you're not helping because you're creating that pattern in your brain like that's correct, but it's not correct. So you're working out to be sloppier. It's not good. Again, video yourself. Video, mirrors, especially in the beginning. You don't want to depend on them, but as far as postural awareness and proprioception and understanding how your body moves in space, initially, mirrors and videos are so good for you because you think you're normal and then you look at the video and you're like, what the hell am I doing? I do it all the time. I don't know about you, but seriously. I tell everyone, you have so much time in your day, you should make your health and your life a priority. So if, filming yourself versus, scrolling on Instagram or going to Starbucks one more time a day, if that's gonna help you, then why not? Because that should be a priority. Thoughts on bracing when bench pressing? Bracing as far as what, like putting a brace on? My movers are on the way. Dominic, if you can ask about or answer the question about putting a brace on. Thanks, Kelly Fresh. You too. Always good to hear from you. I appreciate your support. Hi, Tekka. Bracing means, keep the core tight is good. You should do that. I'm telling you, your core has everything to do with every exercise you do in the gym. Everyone's like, oh, are you gonna do core? I do core. I'm doing core right now. I'm slapping in my core, but you do core with every exercise. You should think about, again, those 4 points. So where your ribs stick out here, and then the 2 points to your hip bones here. If they move further away from one another while you're exercising, your core is not working. It's not working properly. So you should flare your ribs this way without letting your head cock back into extension, because that's the first thing that's going to want to happen. Yeah, there's research that shows your chest will fire more and you'll recruit more muscle fibers in that bench press if you use your core correctly. So again, if you're just holding your breath and your ribs are still flared, you're just holding your breath and you're you know, not helping your situation. But try to, and everyone hates this because they think that curling down is wrong. It's not wrong. It's like, do a sit-up, or I tell people, you know, when you're a kid and you're yelling so loud that you're like, and you're like, you have no more air. That's what you should do. You should blow your air all the way out and get that, you'll feel your diaphragm pull your ribs in, and then start to breathe a little bit, then do your bracing, then do your exercise. So start in a good position, and then the exercise, you'll get more benefit from it. Curvature in the lumbar spine, it's, I mean, neutral position. And it's, I can't say that unless I'm looking at you if you're curved too much or not enough. Just focus on your core, because usually people hyperextend their lower back to try to work the core instead of curling in the other way. You don't want to completely posterior tilt, so you don't want to do one of these where you're like now flat back. You want to, I always say, push your butt. And you guys should be watching our YouTube channels, because I've been putting up a lot of videos on movement and how to move correctly, how to prevent injuries. So your butt should be stretching away from your head. So this way with your sacrum, and then upward with your head. So you stand up tall, and then here. So it's not a this. You don't want to completely posterior tilt under. It's a little subtle, bring these two things together. So you see, I'm still in a neutral position. That's how you should start. And if your butt is pushing away from your head, you'll still feel that arch in your back, and you'll feel your hips work more too. Dominic! What's up? Let's hear some core questions. I know you're falling apart. That guy has a good name. He does. Hopefully, Dominic, that answers your question. Hi from Everett, Washington. Very nice. Thank you, Grenderman. Grendel Prime. So yeah, you get it. And it's hard to like give a generalized answer for, you know, one thing, but it all depends on you and how you're sitting and how you're standing, because you don't want to posterior tilt, and a lot of people do that, and that's when they hurt their back. Dominic. Yeah. Cali Fresh, again, I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. Because seriously, you want your workouts to make you better, and then, you know, you get hurt, and you're like, I don't want to go to the gym. The gym sucks. People always tell me this. It's so funny. They act like working out is the source of their problem. They're like, you know, oh, I never had injuries until I started going to the gym. No, you definitely are brewing stuff in there. But it's just the workout that was the last straw. My favorite core exercise. So, plank, of course I had to research what's the one that activates the most muscle fibers. Of course. I don't just do things just to do them. So if you're plank position, and then you alternate either one arm, one leg, opposite arm, leg, and hold it up there for 15 seconds, and then switch. So it'd be right arm holding, left leg, and that's, when you do, you can do both together, arm and leg, or you can do arm separate and then leg separate. So again, I always talk about my dominance and my quads. That exercise is one of the best exercises for core, but with lower body, it activates the most glute muscle. And I like the glute muscle. So plank, should I show you? Sorry guys, I'm all over the place. Welcome to my house. My life is in boxes. Okay, let's see if this works. So you're gonna come here and then lift one leg at a time. Again, don't do this. If you're doing this, then your core is broken. So that means that all that force is going in your back. And I don't know about you, but I don't like forces going in my back. Okay, again. So I'll show you the wrong way to do it. And people are like, oh, is this too much, too high, or too low? Well, if you're like this, you're literally sagging in your back. So you're working out your vertebrae. That means your discs. You don't want to work out your discs. So if you need to start up higher in order to keep a good position, then that's where you start. So again, if your starting position sucks and you're not activating core, imagine what it's going to do at the end of your rep or your workout. So you want to feel good the next day. If you have pain the next day after a workout, then hey, guess what? Not good. So look, ninja ballerina. So before I was like, bleh. So head back, chin back, here. I'm not flaring, I'm keeping in, so it's like a hollow body position. It's like a banana in your abs. Let's see, we have time for a couple more. Let's see what you guys got. Yeah, you can go to the PI YouTube page. Thanks, Amy. She's the best. So there's a playlist for Dr. Jena. Again, I didn't introduce myself. I'm new at this. But I'm Dr. Jena. I'm with PI now. We're gonna just spread knowledge is what I do. We want to talk about ways to be safe and like common misconceptions. And you know, I see a lot of people get hurt and they aren't the body weight that they want, or they don't like their body image because they're eating incorrectly. So it's just little facts, I call them fun facts, that can really help people be better throughout their day. Hi, Queen. Hi from Delaware. What exercise can you do to develop the bridge on the center of your stomach? What does that mean? Hi, Jerry from Boston. Queen, if you could explain a little bit more, I don't quite understand that. Tips on lat activation during deadlifts? Activate your core. So if you're slapping in your deadlift and you're letting your core not work, then your lats can't fire. Again, your core is your base. If your base isn't firing correctly, then the exercise is not going to produce the outcome that you want. How do you protect the back in bed? Sleep. Better be sleep. Yeah, show. That's not nice. So to protect your back in bed, you just don't want to stay, and usually everyone always asks me about sleeping. I'm like, sleeping's not messing up your day. You shouldn't have to think that hard about how you're sleeping and, you know, what positions you're sleeping in. It's your daily habits that are messing you up, and then your sleeping habits reinforce that, and you think it's sleeping only. So just don't sleep in extreme ranges. You know, if you are a side sleeper and your knees are collapsed, and your knees are collapsed, try to have a pillow between your head or your legs. And then like with your head, if your head is cocked down to the side, put a pillow here and not where your shoulder is, here, so that your spine is neutral. Neutral is good. You don't want to be at the extreme of too many ranges. Thanks, Dominic. Best trainer ever, except for when he calls me out and makes me go on stage and do the VersaClimber. But I love it and hate it. Does a broken hand ever stop hurting? Yes it does. Come see me. I work in LA. No problem. Youth athletes, this is the last thing I'm gonna say. Youth athletes. Youth athletes. So, yes, someone wants to join my video, let's see. It's one of my NASCAR athletes. I don't know how it works or what it does. Does that mean you're here too? Ah, he declined. Chickened out, heavy duty. Come on. All right. Now I lost track. What were we saying? Oh yeah, youth athletes, not athletes. Different sports, many different sports. Kids are getting more injuries than their parents. One, because obesity rates in children is through the roof, and it's disgusting. Because we can change that and we can prevent that, but we're not. That's why it's disgusting. So other things that happen, so they don't have a core. A lot of kids don't have a core, and then you're sitting here making them do one sport that makes them dominant in those patterns that are related to that sport. So then they're just waiting for an injury because now their bones are being torqued one way and they don't change their sports. So you're just waiting for an injury because you're causing dominant patterns and you're not reinforcing a good proper position by doing other things. So several sports, you want them to do as many as they can so their joints are always working in different directions, their muscles are firing properly in different directions. Yeah, I'll come to Argentina. Sounds good. All right, you guys, I hope that was helpful. Baseball too, again, many injuries or many sports for kids. just baseball alone, they're going to get hurt at a young age, and then they're not going to have anything to fall back on. I see that all the time. Hi, Kyle. You come in last second, huh, and start asking about shin splints? Real nice. One of my friends. Unbelievable. All right, you guys. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any more questions, just go ahead and email the email I told you, and you can scroll up and look at it again. And for the subject line, you wanted to say Jena's live posts. Any questions you have, we'll answer them next time. So stay tuned. In a couple weeks, we're going to have another one. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining in. How do I end this thing? Oh, yes.